Prince Fielder, one of the best sluggers of my generation, played in just over 1,600 games from 2005 to 2016. He hit 319 nukes, 321 doubles, drove in over 1,000 runs, all with an OPS of 886. Only 54 players in the history of professional baseball have done that. So how many Hall of Fame votes do you think Prince received in 2022? 2.
This will not stand.
Now, I'm not saying Prince is a Hall of Famer. His defense was poor at first, and injuries robbed us of more. But just 2? The 3-time Silver Slugger, 2-time Home Run Derby champ, finished as high as 3rd in MVP voting one year, and made the ballot 6 times. He only missed 1 game from 2009 to 2013, and was the youngest ever to hit 50 nukes in a season. Does Ryan Braun even do what he did without Prince hitting behind him? But thanks to one stat in particular, we've got people out here thinking Ryan Braun was twice as valuable as Prince over the course of their careers. And Prince, he ends up receiving just 2 Hall of Fame votes.
You fools!
WAR, or wins above replacement, our old friend. Maybe the most polarizing stat in all of sports. And according to it, or one of them at least, Ryan Braun was almost twice as valuable over the course of his career than Prince. WAR sucks! And honestly, Prince isn't even a very good example of WAR selling someone short. Dave Parker has entered the chat. Between the positional adjustments, everything that goes into it, its ever-evolving nature, or even the simple fact that folks can't agree on one true WAR metric, it sucks. But between us, I kinda love it. You just have to be careful how you use it.
With great power comes great responsibility.
And that's what we're here for. But don't you worry, baseball fans. This isn't another deep dive explaining WAR and what goes into it. Nah, that's been done, and I'm not trying to pretend I'm smarter than you. Instead, we're going to go back in time and show some real examples of why I think WAR sucks. Hope you like dingers and big ol' sluggers. Then we dive into more examples from throughout baseball history where WAR makes me forget the hurt and reminds me that it's okay to love again, based on its ability to quantify things that we couldn't before, while even changing past perceptions in some cases. Did you realize that Alex Gordon was worth a full win more than Ryan Howard in 2008? That's before he became a Gold Glove outfielder too. And folks were ready to label Gordon a bust. But we'll get to that.
Buckle up.
Baseball fans, we've got a few stops throughout history to get to. All because WAR sucks! But I also kinda love it. Welcome to Good Vibes Baseball. Please consider subscribing if you haven't. I do appreciate you either way. Now let's get into some good vibes, shall we? WAR sucks! Friends of the channel will know I'm actually a big fan of WAR. I even did a whole video on Roy Halladay where WAR is the support for my argument. Be sure to check it out. But just as these stats evolve, our understanding of how to use them must also evolve. WAR is a great way to show how valuable a player is to his peers for a given year. But for something like the Hall of Fame, who even decides what's truly valuable? And did you know that depending on the position a player plays, his WAR currently might be subject to as much as a negative 9.5 run deduction for just playing first base, or a negative 15 runs for DHing?
I don't understand the question, and I won't respond to it.
I get that first base is a position where defense isn't as valued, but say goodbye to the days of a Keith Hernandez type first baseman being seen as valuable. But it also means that they have to perform even better than other positions to achieve the same WAR, which is fair, but shouldn't diminish what some of these great sluggers have accomplished either. But it has. Cecil Fielder, Prince's dad, in his 1996 season is a great example of why I think WAR sucks. In 1996, Cecil played for the Tigers and Yankees. He hit a whopping 39 nukes, drove in 117 runs, and posted an OPS north of 800. Sure, that 108 OPS plus means the rest of the league was mashing too, but 39 nukes and over 100 ribbies? Oh, he also won the World Series that year with the Yanks. I'd say he was pretty damn valuable. But according to B-War, Tom Glavine, yes, that Tom Glavine, was technically worth the same amount offensively as Cecil in 1996 at 1 win above replacement, with a whopping 26 total bases compared to Cecil's 286. Huh. But even if Glavine's 26 total bases as a pitcher isn't enough, let's look at another position player, Rudy Pemberton.
Who the f*** is that?
Played 13 games in 1996. 13. His B-WAR that season? 0.8 compared to Cecil's 0.9 in 160. Again, I understand that Cecil was DHing, but who would the Yanks have preferred in that World Series winning lineup? Thanks to WAR, Cecil's season isn't viewed as valuable. But speaking of big-bodied sluggers, Ryan Howard and his 2008 season would like a word. Ryan Howard is what you'd cook up in a lab if you wanted a good old-fashioned slugger. The guy flat out raked, and 2008, one of his better seasons. He led the entire league in nukes with 49 and runs batted in with 146. His OPS was just south of 900, and even his OPS plus of 125 wasn't bad. Baseball writers even acknowledged his greatness as he finished second in MVP voting behind Albert Pujols and his insane 1.114 OPS. Howard also was an integral part of that 2008 Phillies team that won the World Series. But strictly by B-WAR standards?
Not so much.
Ryan Howard was worth just 1.8 wins above replacement in 2008. There were 150 players worth more than him that year. Take your pick, really. Alfredo Amezaga and his 3 nukes, 32 RBIs, and OPS plus of 77? Worth just as much as Howard. Rafael Furcal played in 36 games in 2008. Was worth more than Howard in that time. Fellow first baseman Derek Lee only hit 20 bombs and drove in 90 runs, but was worth more than Howard? Twins legend Denard Span only played in 93 games, posted an OPS plus of 122, finished with a 4.3 B-WAR. You're telling me that the Phillies would have preferred any of that over 162 games of Ryan Howard?
What kind of question is that?
Yes, Howard was a black hole defensively, but the 2008 MVP runner-up's impact to this game is much greater than his B-WAR. Yet, when it comes time for baseball writers to cast their votes for the Hall, B-WAR will absolutely be a deciding factor. Howard fell off the ballot after 1 year in 2022. Just like Prince. But it's not just Howard and the fielders. WAR has fundamentally diminished what all sluggers have accomplished prior to its creation.
I mean, it's a travesty.
Phillies legend Richie Ashburn, Hall of Fame center fielder, played 15 seasons, 2,500 plus hits, just 29 career home runs though. His career B-WAR? 64.2. Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, David Ortiz, and Harmon Killebrew, all members of the illustrious 500 home run club. Their B-WARs? All less than Ashburn's. Sammy Sosa even stole the exact same number of bases as Ashburn. Again I say, WAR sucks! But it's not just the big boys that get slighted. How are you supposed to boil everything a catcher brings to a team into one tiny number? Spoiler alert, you can't. I can't talk about WAR and not talk about catchers. Did you know that one of the biggest differences between B-WAR and F-WAR? Defensive output. In particular for catchers, the difference in using DRS and UZR and its inclusion of pitch framing. It creates some wild differences in certain players' B-WAR versus their F-WAR, therefore changing how we value these players. Salvador Perez is one of the best catchers of the last 15 years. The 4-time Silver Slugger, 8-time All-Star has played almost 1,500 games, all for the Royals. He helped take that team to 2 World Series and won one of them. He even has won 5 Gold Gloves. And that's just some of the bigger accolades. Sure, Fangraphs might not be a fan of his pitch framing, but he has been the one constant for that Royals team since 2011. He's already amassed almost 1,500 hits, has already hit 250 plus nukes, 260 plus doubles, driven in over 800 runs, and has amassed over 2,500 total bases.
Is that good?
Only 11 catchers in baseball history have those numbers. And that Gold Glove defense? Not just writer's bias, according to Defensive B-WAR. In fact, his 2023 season was his first that he didn't post a positive defensive B-WAR. And he's not done by any means. So what does all of what Salvy bring to the Royals add up in total B-WAR since 2011? 35.2. Not bad, but based solely off of that number, would Royals fans really want to replace 250 plus nukes, all of that joy, and the leadership Salvy has brought with, say, the 97 OPS plus Kevin Kiermaier has put up so far in his career? Well, according to B-WAR, Kiermaier has been worth more than Salvy. And Fangraphs F-WAR speaks even lower of Salvy. His 17.3 F-WAR means he's technically worth the same as Tigers legend Johnny Bassler. And his one career home run. 1.
What kind of shit is that?
I understand that the game has changed over the course of 100 years, and I 100% appreciate the old-timers. But there are folks who genuinely believe Salvy is not a great player. And he's not alone. Jorge Posada was arguably the glue that held that Yankees dynasty of the late 90s, early 2000s together. He hit 275 nukes, drove in over 1,000 runs, and had a higher career OPS than Yogi Berra. Yet, he was off the Hall of Fame ballot after 1 year. Yadi Molina is a fun example too, but unlike the others, F-WAR and its defensive side loves him. I think we can all agree that Yadi was amazing defensively. So why can't the data then? 42.1 B-WAR compared to 55.6 F-WAR? That difference is almost Salvy's entire F-WAR. But that defensive value that Yadi brought is extremely important to capture. Framing and throwing runners out does matter. And for as much shit as I've given WAR, I really do kinda love it. Yadi's F-WAR actually is a good example. Cardinals fans can attest to what he brought to those teams. That F-WAR probably still doesn't do him justice. But WAR has also been great at giving other players their proper dues. Alex Gordon is one of my all-time favorite baseball players. The way he went from being the next George Brett to be considered a bust, to then becoming one of the best defensive outfielders in all of baseball, as he helped Salvy and the Royals win that 2015 World Series, was incredible. But a big reason for that change in perception of Alex Gordon? WAR, and the ability to put value to things we typically couldn't measure.
It's good. It's a good thing.
Remember that 2008 season from earlier? Ryan Howard leads the league in nukes and ribbies, but posts a 1.8 B-WAR? Well, that was Alex Gordon's second season in the bigs. He was playing third base, hit 16 home runs, drove in 59 runs, and had an OPS south of 800. Royals fans were wanting the next George Brett, but talking about him as a legit bust. But his B-WAR that season? 2.8. A full win more than Howard. But why? I'm glad you asked. It's all because WAR gives him credit in all facets of the game. He played replacement level defense, but added value with his bat, base running, and earned a little extra value thanks to simply playing third base. So instead of talking about him as a bust, Royals fans actually had a budding young star on their hands. Too bad WAR didn't exist in 2008, but WAR has since changed that perception. But Alex Gordon is just one reason I kinda love WAR. Rockies legend Larry Walker in his 1997 season is another reason I love WAR. He led the National League with 49 home runs and the entire league with a 1.172 OPS and 409 total bases. He also stole 33 bases, hit 46 doubles, and drove in 130 runs. His OPS plus was also 178 that year, so you Coors haters can pipe down.
Pipe down in there!
This might be the most dynamic season in baseball history, and you know what? WAR actually agrees. Yeah, Larry Walker's 9.8 B-WAR in 1997 is the highest B-WAR in a season for a player who went 30-30 while also driving in 100 plus runs. I love WAR! But it's not just those two either. Ozzie Smith, Dave Concepcion, and Brooks Robinson are all defensive wizards from years past that defensive B-WAR not only supports their greatness, but allows us a metric other than fielding percentage to see it. I'm sure you have someone who you use their WAR as a reason for why they are better than someone else. Let me know in the comments. But wait, I thought WAR sucked! So what's the verdict? Does WAR suck, or is it the best metric out there? Well, it's complicated.
We call this method the upside-down coward.
Ask Mike Trout enthusiasts. WAR single-handedly almost cost Miguel Cabrera the MVP in 2012 after hitting for the Triple Crown. I love data. The ability to put numbers to things we can't necessarily see is beautiful. But again, with great power comes great responsibility, and it's how we use these numbers. WAR alone can't paint the full picture. It can give us a better idea of how someone truly impacts the game, but should it be a deciding factor in Hall of Fame voting, or when trying to say player A was better than player B? Probably not, but it's still fun to debate. So no matter where you stand on the topic, consider the other side's perspective. Was Cecil Fielder less valuable than Rudy Pemberton in 1996? Not to Yankees fans. Was Alex Gordon better than Ryan Howard in 2008? Not to Phillies fans. Or is Salvy a great catcher? Absolutely. But the WARs say otherwise. Because WAR sucks. But between its ability to capture what we couldn't before, its ability to provide value to things we can't see, and its power to change perceptions, you know what? I kinda love it. But that's gonna do it for today, baseball fans. Thanks so much for tuning in. Do you think WAR sucks, or do you love it? Comment below, hit that thumbs up, and please consider subscribing if you haven't. I appreciate you either way. Until next time, baseball fans, cheers!